Is this the new Porsche?
Tony Soprano lives in a mansion, drives luxury SUVs, wears Rolex watches, eats at the finest restaurants in North Jersey.
That's $3,000 here. $3,000. Go ahead.
And every single one of his captains is broke. Not struggling to make rent broke, more like screaming at the boss over $3,000 broke, clipping coupons after stealing $400 grand broke, losing sleep because another captain earned 5% more this week broke.
What did they ever do to this guy?
They released these fucks from the can.
These are supposed to be organized crime's elite, killers, earners, men who run entire crews of soldiers. And yet, every other episode, one of them is whining to Tony like a middle manager begging for a cost of living raise. So what's going on? Are they really that bad with money? Or is something deeper happening here? Because when you actually pull apart the economics of The Sopranos, you find one of the most honest and devastating portraits of organized crime ever put on television. To understand why these guys are always scrambling, you have to understand what era we're looking at. The Sopranos doesn't take place during the mob's golden age. This isn't the Five Families in the 1960s, when the mafia controlled entire industries and politicians answered to dons.
That I came in at the end.
Tony says it himself in the very first episode. He feels like he came in at the end. And he's right.
Because of Rico.
By the late 1990s, decades of federal crackdowns, RICO prosecutions, and advances in surveillance had gutted the traditional power structure. The real De Cavalcante family, the New Jersey outfit that inspired the show, was, by most accounts, a collection of guys who were mostly struggling. One widely cited detail, after the show started airing, the real mobsters reportedly began dressing better because of it. Think about what that means. The fiction was more glamorous than the reality. So right from the jump, the show is telling us something important. This is not a world of unlimited money. The rackets are drying up.
Fucking garbage business.
Yeah, I know.
The Starbucks manager who tells them to go ahead and trash the store because corporate will just replace him and still won't pay protection? That's not a throwaway scene. That's the thesis.
Could be major. Could be as good as garbage.
The old business model is dead, and these guys haven't built a new one. Here's the first thing most people miss about mob finances. There's a massive difference between having cash and having money you can actually use. A captain might have $100 grand stuffed in a crawl space, but he can't deposit it. He can't use it to pay his mortgage without triggering a suspicious activity report. He can't invest it in anything legitimate without explaining where it came from.
How about my 40 grand you stole out of the bird feeder? That should be plenty.
That's why Tony hides cash in bird feeders. That's why Paulie, a guy who steals hundreds of thousands of dollars, still clips coupons. It's not that they have no money, it's that most of their money is radioactive. And here's what makes it worse. They do have legitimate fronts. The Bada Bing, Barone Sanitation, construction companies. These businesses exist specifically to wash dirty money into clean income. But as the show demonstrates over and over, these guys can't resist the short-term flex. They'd rather flash stolen jewelry to other wise guys than quietly funnel that money through a car wash. Tony makes this point explicitly when he and Paulie are on the run. Paulie is spending big, living loud, and Tony rips into him for not having more of his money washed. Paulie's response is basically nothing, because there is no good answer. He's been doing it wrong for decades. Remember when Tony almost lost his health insurance while he was in the hospital? The problem wasn't a lack of funds. It was a lack of clean funds.
These HMOs, they pay out millions of dollars every day to doctors.
He had plenty of cash, but not enough money that the real world would accept. That's the trap. You can be rich on paper and broke in practice. But dirty money is only half the problem, because even the money these guys do earn, a huge chunk of it goes straight up the ladder.
So you give me a token. I don't know. Couple percent.
The mob works like a pyramid scheme. Soldiers kick up to captains, captains kick up to the boss. Everyone along the chain takes a mandatory cut, and the penalties for shorting that envelope are severe. You're only as good as your last envelope. That's the phrase they use. And it's not just a saying, it's a survival metric. Look at Junior. After the assassination attempt on Tony, his taste as boss isn't reduced by 5%. It's cut to 5% of what it was. That's a 95% pay cut for a man who is running the entire family. Even after Tony gives him a raise, he's on what amounts to mob social security. Christopher feels this even more directly. The moment he gets made, he expects to earn big. Instead, he discovers that his mandatory kick up to Paulie actually leaves him with less money than he was making before. The promotion is a demotion in take-home pay. And here's the vicious cycle.
Listen, I don't mean to be a pest, But some of your guys...
I told you I'd take care of it.
This is not the fiber optics.
When a captain's envelope comes in light, the boss notices. Immediately. Silvio tries to skim on stolen floor tiles and Tony catches it. Paulie develops a reputation for handing in light envelopes and has to rob an old woman, a friend of his own mother, just to bring his payments current. Nobody is honest about what they earn. Not to the boss, not to the IRS, not to each other, because every dollar you reveal is a dollar someone else will try to take. Now here's where it gets really interesting, because even after the kick-ups, even after the clean money problem, these guys still have a spending issue, and it's not entirely their fault.
Tony and Silvio, all they understand is appearances.
In the mob, appearance is currency. If you show up to dinner in cheap clothes, you lose respect. If you don't put $5,000 on green zero when the boss is watching, your reputation drops and your earning opportunities dry up. If you're driving anything less than a new Cadillac, it's a disgrazia, a disgrace.
6,000 square foot house, big screen TVs, food on the table, video games, all kinds of scooters and bicycles. Columbia University, and for what? To come home to this?
Tony himself rants about it. The 6,000 square foot house, the big screen TVs, Columbia University for Meadow, video games, scooters, bicycles. The expenses never stop, and every captain faces a scaled-down version of the same pressure. Bobby has his model trains. A few guys need tailored suits. Everyone needs to look like they're doing well, even when they're not.
Bear in mind, this is a kid who just bought himself a $60,000 Lexus.
Christopher becomes a made guy, and in the same week, leases a new vehicle like he just signed with the NFL.
I have never seen that much money before.
It's gotta be 10, 12 grand.
Tony Blendetto finds a bag of cash, and instead of investing it in his legitimate massage business, he blows it on garbage. The money goes out as fast as it comes in. Former underboss Michael Francis has talked about this. He said that most mob guys weren't money-making machines. They were brute force. Very few had the intelligence to put together consistent, high-earning schemes. The rest were essentially leg breakers, sitting on the bench, waiting to be told what to do. And leg breakers don't have investment portfolios. So what you end up with is a group of men earning unpredictable, inconsistent income from rackets that are actively shrinking and spending every dollar as fast as it arrives to maintain an image they can't afford. It's a lower middle class version of Brewster's Millions. If you can't do anything legitimate with your money, you might as well blow it. But the deepest reason these guys are always broke, it's the one the show is really about.
He told me not to get in the game.
They are constitutionally incapable of living any other way.
It's my nature.
The Sopranos is, at its core, a show about people who are trapped. Not by the FBI, not by the law, by themselves. Look at Vito. He escapes to New Hampshire. He finds a caring partner, a stable job as a carpenter, a quiet house, far from everything that was killing him, a genuine second chance. And he throws it all away to run back to New Jersey, knowing full well how it ends.
Christopher, we're here to talk about your drug problem.
Look at Christopher. He's an addict and they give him grief. He tries to get clean and they give him grief.
Because I gotta take a little time off for some business in Cali.
There is no version of his life where the crew supports his growth, because growth means leaving, and leaving is betrayal. They're a barrel of crabs. If one tries to climb out, the others pull it back down.
You're right.
Tony Blendetto wants to go straight. He starts a business, and the life drags him right back in. Pussy's wife needs financial support after he's killed, and the crew resents every dollar they have to contribute, despite the obvious benefit of keeping the community loyal.
How much we talking about?
These men don't stay broke because they can't figure out money. They stay broke because the system they're in is designed to keep them desperate, competitive, and dependent. The boss needs them hungry. The hierarchy needs them striving. And they need each other just enough to never leave. A white picket fence isn't a lifestyle for these people. It's a disguise. The Sopranos captains aren't broke because they're stupid. Well, some of them are. But the real answer is structural. It's dirty money they can't use, a pyramid that takes everything, a lifestyle that demands what's left, and a culture that won't let them change. The genius of the show is that it doesn't just depict this, it makes you feel it. Every argument over $3,000, every light envelope, every captain crying poor to Tony, it's not filler. It's the point. The American Dream, Mob Edition, is just as much of a treadmill as the civilian version, maybe more. Tony came in at the end, but maybe there was never really a beginning worth romanticizing in the first place. Drop a comment. Which Sopranos character do you think was actually the worst with money? My vote is Paulie. The man robbed a senior citizen to pay his bar tab with the boss. But I want to hear your picks. If this is the kind of analysis you're into, hit subscribe.